Welcome in, one and all. Has it been a week already? That's got to be one of my largest gaps ever since I started doing these individual album reviews. And I apologize, I've been away, but I won't apologize for the time I could have been recording album reviews that I spent playing Diablo 4 because the new expansion pack came out and I am loving it. But this is not a video game review, and I probably won't do video game reviews. This is an album review, a first impressions album review for the Casualties with their new album, 12th studio album, I believe, Detonate. Now, while we may be a dozen albums deep, it is the first album for the new vocalist and new bassist. And I'll tell you what, they're a natural fit for the sound. Like, the new vocalist slides in so seamlessly. I didn't even realize it was a lineup change until I was checking something else on Wikipedia. And as for a bassist, I mean, you're a punk bassist. The most notable thing a punk bassist can normally add to the sound is backing vocals. So, yeah, you're also doing a good job. But I'm glad the new vocalist isn't a large departure as well, because I've always loved the vocal styles, that rough vocal style of the Casualties. It's got like just a natural bit of fry on it. Really suits the sound, and I'm glad they didn't change it, because I think if you change that, you'd be departing from that classic Casualty sound, that really reliably good hardcore punk with that bit of straight punk slash oi. Apparently goes all the way back to the band's original mission statement. Apparently that's what they wanted to bring back when they formed, and I'd say they did a good job at that and continue to do so. Notably, it is the first album with no original members, but it still contains half of what you'd consider the stable lineup that started in 1998. So I think it's their first lineup change in like 19 years or something. But during those first 5 years, they were just like churning through members, and then it hit 98 and they got like a nice solid four locked in. And you still got guitarist Jake Coladas and drummer Mark Eggers from that lineup. So, you know, we're not majorly changing things up here. And in the habit of not changing things up, they do what they always do when they come out of the gate swinging. Nice little intro track, and then into Detonate and People Over Power. People Over Power is great. So many memorable hooks really early on in the album. Really gets me invested. Unfortunately, it then begins to tire out after that. And when you're a dozen studio albums in, and you've had very little evolution in your sound, geez, it gets fatiguing, and that's where it all falls down. Like, you go listen to For the Punks, their first album, and besides production value, tell me what's changed, because not like it's the same riffs, the same songs, the same themes and messaging, and just none of it has matured or changed over the decades. Some parts of this just really drive that home. The intro to Brick by Brick, it just reminds me how much the punk scene in general has spun its wheels. But that's another conversation. We put discussions about philosophy and systems of government and whatnot aside. Musically, the lyrical content just isn't fresh. And I feel it really like came to a head for me on my first listen when I got to Now and Tomorrow. It just sounds so stale that it sounds like something that would be on a movie soundtrack as like generic punk track. It's very safe. It's a socially acceptable level of edge, and that's not what drew me to the Casualties in the first place. On the plus side, the energy's still there at least, and there's plenty of that like big gang vocal call and response moments that makes the songs feel like they're designed for a live crowd. Hopefully that could be Australia on this album tour one day again. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been turned off by the Hits and Pits Festival. That was the last time they were out, and I assume, like many of the bands, they probably didn't get paid by the promoter who did a runner. You can see my 500 gigs video that went up last week for more details on that. But despite those, little highlights peppered in here and there, it's the abundance of tracks that just don't have good hooks or anthemic moments that really make the album just drag on and feel really weak compared to their peak albums like We Are All We Have. And those have a call to arms energy that's missing. Now this feels like a call to kind of keep going and hang around when it's getting late and you've got to be up early tomorrow, and kind of getting confused with what you're even doing in the first place as the excitement, the original excitement passes on. And you're like, I don't know if I want to keep going, actually. Seems like we haven't made any progress towards what we were doing in the first place. And sadly, that's become a bit par for the course for the Casualties. I'd compare this really closely to their last album, in that it opened and closed on tracks with, big memorable hooks and moments that make it really enjoyable, but then not really having much meat in between the opening and close. I think this album is better. There are better songs between the start and finish, because the last album was really just a nothing sandwich. Bread, nothing, bread. This, there are some good songs in there. I liked Allies and Assassins. I liked Few the True. That kind of felt like something that could have been off Where All We Have. Pigs on Fire is one of those ones that, man, this is designed for a live. It's even got like a live setting call and response at the very start of the song. So it's definitely better than the last album. It's a good trajectory, but it's a far cry from where they've been in the past, and the quality of album they could put out when you look at their discography. I will say the close on Detonate is a lot weaker, to the point where it ended so abruptly that it felt like it was incomplete, or that the album is out of order. There was no fade out, no wind down. It wasn't a particularly notable song. It didn't hit a crescendo or anything like that. It was just a very could have been anywhere in the album song, and then it finishes and the album's over, and it didn't inspire the need to go start it again or make me think long and hard and be like, oh wow, yeah, that was certainly a thought piece. This whole album, no, it's just it was just a song, just a collection of songs, not feeling like a particularly cohesive album. I think long-term Casualty fans will be happy enough with this. I'm happy enough with this. It's a safe release, which I guess if you're gonna change half the lineup of the band, it's fine to put out a safe release to be like, hey guys, look, we're not changing the world just because we lost two members. But on the other side, I'm actually kind of upset that the first lineup change in a long time has produced no growth and no new ideas in the sound. And I hope, maybe this song was sorry, maybe this album was already being written when the lineup change happened and the new members didn't have enough time to influence it. So maybe the next album's going to be that, like, look what they've brought to the party. But I wish that was this album. I don't want to have to wait another 4-year album cycle to have that. So at the end of the day, I can't really recommend this album, because if you're a Casualties fan, you probably heard it already. You probably weren't waiting for my recommendation to check it out or not. And if you're not a Casualties fan, I'd recommend checking out We're All We Have, or maybe Resistance, because they're really good albums. And I hope the next one's more like that, or something that's equal in quality, if different, because the new members brought something new to the table. This is certainly just one of the albums of their discography, and I'm sure after there's been an album tour and they move on into new material, don't see a lot of these getting touched ever again live, except for People Overpower. I think that could stay in the set list for a long time. Everything else in here is just so lost in the mishmash of their entire discography and could be plucked and put down in any other album. So yeah, the album could be worse. Wish it was better. And I think that sums it up for me. But you know what couldn't be any better? You, because you stuck around, you watched this far, and I really appreciate it. So thanks for that. If you haven't already, like and subscribe does help a lot, does give me a bit more reach. And until next time, keep well, keep listening to good music, give We Are All We Have a chance. It's actually one of my favorite punk albums, which is probably why I feel a bit negative whenever the Casualties don't put out a good album, because I know they can put out material that reaches the top of my charts. So give that one a spin. I recommend that. And until next time, peace out.